to vote. Election workers are the frontline heroes of our democracy, and we are grateful that they are working tirelessly to ensure all eligible Pennsylvanians have access to the ballot and that every vote is counted. By close of business yesterday, Pennsylvania voters requested nearly 900,000 mail-in and absentee ballots. Approximately 70% of those ballots were returned. Counties began pre-canvassing mail-in and absentee ballots at 7 a.m. and are currently tabulating those ballots and are uploading unofficial results to our election night reporting website as I stand here. As counties provide us with real-time updates, that information will be posted on our website at electionreturns.pa.gov. It may take a few days for unofficial returns to be completed. Remember, results are unofficial until they are certified by the county boards and the Department of State, which will occur in 3 weeks. Please continue to watch for updates on our website. The election today was successful with minimal issues. Throughout the day, our team fielded 1,200 calls to our voter hotline, including reports of polls opening late, precincts running low on ballots, electioneering too close to the polling place, and potential voter intimidation, which was promptly referred to relevant law enforcement authorities. 3 counties, Berks, Lancaster, and Allegheny, reported the following issues. This morning in Berks County, officials and poll workers discovered a programming error with the new electronic poll books deployed across the county. Some polls opened late, and as a result, the department received reports that there were lines at approximately 24 polling locations. The electronic poll books were removed from service, and precincts began working from paper books, which are sent to all polling places as a backup. This afternoon, the Court of Common Pleas ordered Berks County polling places to remain open for an additional hour. Polls in Berks County closed at 9 p.m., and voters in line by then are entitled to vote. This morning in Lancaster County, when election officials began pre-canvassing mail ballots, they discovered that an estimated 22,000 mail ballots printed by the vendor contained an incorrect code that could not be read by the scanner. To address this, the department recommends the best practice of assigning 2-person teams to hand mark new ballots. One will read out the markings from the original ballot. The second party will mark the ballot. There is also an observer who watches the process to make sure that the remarked ballot is accurate. Those ballots are scanned by the optical scan machine owned by the county. In Allegheny County, some polling places ran low on ballots. The county delivered ballots to those precincts, and voting continued uninterrupted. In every instance, identified issues were escalated to the appropriate entity for investigation and swift resolution. Overall, I'd like to say thank you again to county elections directors and poll workers for a job well done today. I'd also like to thank the millions of Pennsylvania voters who exercised their fundamental right to vote this primary. You contributed to democracy, and you should be proud. And finally, I'd like to thank our federal partners at Homeland Security and the FBI, and at the state level, PEMA, Pennsylvania Department of Homeland Security, the Pennsylvania National Guard, the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, Pennsylvania State Police, the Office of Information Technology, and my dedicated staff at the Department of State. And now I'd like to take your questions.
In terms of the Lancaster County issue with the vendor, that was a county that also had issues. They had to fire their vendor from last year's election. Is that the only, it's probably not the only county that's using that vendor, I would assume. Can you tell me what other counties are using them, and what is your response to the error from this morning?
You know, there are a few counties around the Commonwealth that do use that vendor, but this situation was unique to Lancaster County. So we are working closely with the county to make sure that those 22,000 ballots are processed and that this doesn't happen again for the November general election.
And the county commissioners basically blame Act 77 that said, they said this problem has never happened before. Is it a problem with Act 77, or what processes need to be put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again in Lancaster or in other counties moving forward to the general election in the fall?
This is not a problem with Act 77. Act 77 implemented mail-in voting for over 8 million voters in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania voters love mail-in voting. They've embraced it. We've seen over 4.7 million Pennsylvanians use vote by mail. This is an isolated incident, so it's unfair to blame this incident on Act 77. Yes.
Secretary, you mentioned voter intimidation. How many instances of that occurred, and can you characterize the types of intimidation? And how many times were police called?
Sure. I don't have those exact numbers. I can follow up with you, but just high level, we saw a few isolated incidents around the Commonwealth, Mifflin County, Philadelphia, Bucks County, Allegheny County. It varied, but the police and law enforcement were informed right away, and those situations were addressed.
And about Allegheny County, do you have a handle on this issue of how many voters were turned away, how often that happened, and that can't be the right way to handle that, right?
We did receive one report that voters were turned away at a polling place because there were low ballots there, but we know that was addressed. More ballots were delivered to the county and to the precincts. So I believe those voters were also contacted.
Do you know how many?
I don't know how many, not off the top of my head.
In Allegheny County, do you know where?
My team will have to follow up with you with that. What outlet are you from again?
Oh, I'm Mark Sclafora with AP.
Oh, with AP, okay.
Yeah.
We'll follow up with you.
And what other issues came to your attention, were serious enough to be reported to the state? Anything else? Any other? Or is that the sum total of the problems and incidents?
We received 1,200 calls. So, we saw some of the routine issues that you see in every election, polls opening late, power outages, issues around identification, questions. But, it was pretty much the routine calls that we have in every election, outside of the Berks and Lancaster situations.
And do you have a handle on how long it's going to take Lancaster to deal with this by hand?
Well, they have to count 22,000 ballots, so I anticipate days. But we will definitely follow up with the county tomorrow and get a better handle on how many staff they have that are addressing this.
Secretary, we have time for one more question.
Is that something you can devote resources to, or is it just you're monitoring? In other words, is there any role for the state to step in and give them manpower or anything like that?
We do the best to support the counties, so the first thing we need to do is see what their needs are and see how we can support them. But as I mentioned, we do have guidance and best practices that we've outlined as far as how to make sure that these ballots get counted, because every voter needs to have their ballot counted and their voice heard.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.